This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
Whoa, you're going to actually have a real top 10 list, VinylicPuma? No weird or odd numbers like top 8s or top 9s or top 11 lists? Well, guys, it's true. I finally managed to make a normal top 10 list. So today we're going to be going over Jakobs weapons. Now, Jakobs weapons are usually non-elemental with relatively high base damage as well as critical hit damage. Now, Jakobs weapons also have a more American Wild West aesthetic, which is fairly different from many of the other manufacturers from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. So, without further ado, these will be the top 10 best Jakobs Guns and Weapons in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. And we'll go ahead here and we will start with number 10, and that's going to be the Trespasser. So, while the Trespasser doesn't really have very high base damage and also is a bolt-action sniper rifle, which does tremendously affect its fire rate, it does have the ability to bypass an enemy's shields. Now, the Trespasser sniper rifle was inspired in part by Mordecai's Trespass skill from Borderlands 1, which also allowed you to bypass enemy shields. Now, the Trespasser is one of two weapons from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel that have the ability to bypass shields. The other, of course, being the long nail made by Vladof in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Now, the Trespasser is recommended during your fight with Verastus, as you can use it to kill Chief Nuguatu before he gives Vora his massive shield. Otherwise, it's a fun weapon to use occasionally, but it is certainly not the best weapon that Jakobs has to offer. Number 9, the Triquetra. When I did one of my first playthroughs of Borderlands 2, I got the Triquetra as a quest reward, and I was blown away. While it's just a decent weapon on Ultimate Vault Hunter Mode Plus with some overpowered levels, the Triquetra is a fantastic weapon in normal and true Vault Hunter mode for the few levels that you get to use it. It's a good Jakobs shotgun, meaning it has good damage and critical hit damage. You also get the Triquetra's signature triangular Triquetra projectile pattern, which makes it very easy to predict exactly where the projectiles are going to go while you're hip firing the gun. Now, I have always liked the Triquetra shotgun. It's powerful, and it can be acquired relatively early on in your playthroughs. Number 8, the Godfinger. So I know a lot of people don't like the Godfinger, and I understand why that is. The fire rate is low because it is a bolt-action sniper rifle, and the base damage is significantly lower than other Jakobs sniper rifles. There's also the issue that in order to get the maximum amount of damage out of the Godfinger, you need to be on the other side of whatever map that you're on. Even still, I think this is a really great sniper rifle for Maya, as you can easily phase lock an enemy from a significant distance, line up a shot, and then take it. Generally, the bigger the crit spot of the enemy, really the better the Godfinger is. Number 7, the Gatling Gun. So the Gatling Gun is probably one of the best early, mid, and late game weapons from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and I also think it's the best use of the Vladof spinning gun barrel on an assault rifle in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Now, unlike many other Vladof spinning gun assault rifles, the Gatling Gun has no wind-up time and fires 3 projectiles per trigger pull. Granted, that's at the cost of more ammo per shot. You add in the inherently superior base damage as well as critical hit damage that Jakobs weapons get, and you get something that is pretty powerful. If you see a Gatling Gun in any of your playthroughs, I would recommend that you pick them up, as they do make some of those earlier parts of your playthroughs much easier. Number 6, the Flare. So the Flare reminds me of some modded Jakobs weapons I would occasionally use in Borderlands 2 because of its extended magazine size. Now, while the Flare is essentially based off of the Jakobs coach gun from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, it has a slightly higher projectile count and 4 times the magazine size of your average Jakobs coach gun. So instead of firing 1 shot and then having to reload, you can fire 4 shots before you reload. The only thing that sucks about the Flare is that you can only get it in Borderlands the pre-sequel. And in my opinion, I think it would be pretty cool if we got to use the flare in Borderlands 2 somehow in the future. Please, Gearbox Senpai, merge Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Number 5. The Pepperbox. So officially, the Pepperbox can only be used in Borderlands the pre-sequel and only comes in glitch rarity as seen here. Now, unofficially, you can use a combination of save editors and a cheat engine on PC to force one onto your player character that's from white to purple rarity in both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Now, the Pepperbox is a great Jakobs pistol as it always comes with a projectile multiplier. The double version comes with a ×3 projectile multiplier instead of the stock ×2 multiplier. I suspect one of the reasons it got cut from Borderlands 2 was because it would have been a little overpowered in both normal and true Vault Hunter mode. However, now, I think it might be balanced just fine, and I think the developers over at either 2K Australia or Gearbox may agree with me because they added the glitch version as a part of the Claptastic Voyage DLC for Borderlands the pre-sequel. The glitch version is actually more powerful than the original, as the random glitch effects can make this thing constantly fire money shots, which is pretty sick. Overall though, if you can get one of these, I think you should definitely pick one up. Number 4, the Maggie. So the Maggie was and still is a pretty great weapon in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and is easily the best Jakobs pistol in Borderlands 2. It has extremely good ammo consumption as you fire 6 projectiles or so at the cost of just 1 projectile per shot. 2 versions, which are the double versions, have 10 projectiles for the cost of just 1 bullet or 1 projectile per shot. In this sense, the Maggie is sort of like a shotgun in pistol form. The high projectile count makes it fairly easy to score a critical hit on enemies with small crit spots from about medium range. While I wouldn't recommend sniping with the Maggie is also pretty decent at a distance. The best part is that the Maggie appears in both games and is overall just a great weapon. Number 3, the Twister. So unlike most Jakobs weapons, the Twister is shock elemental as opposed to being strictly non-elemental. Like a Twister or Tornado, the projectiles move in a similar cone-like fashion, making it easy to predict where the projectiles are going to go, both while aiming down the sights and hip firing. The Twister is a favorite among Gauge players because of the consistent nature of the projectiles, as well as the relatively low magazine size that is inherent to most Jakobs shotguns. Keep in mind, the less you compulsively hit the reload button, the higher your anarchy stacks go. Another advantage of the Twister is the slow projectile speed. While it's not practical for distance combat, you can fire the Twister and then quickly swap to the Lady Fist for increased critical hit damage. This works especially well on Maya, as you can lock enemies with phase lock. Overall, pick up this gun as I think it's the best elemental Jakobs weapon. Number 2, the Luck Cannon. So it was sort of difficult to pick what the number 1 choice was going to be, as both the Luck Cannon and the number 1 choice are both phenomenal weapons. In some circumstances and on some characters from certain games, the Luck Cannon might actually come out on top. Now, despite its atrocious magazine size of just 1 bullet, the Luck Cannon has a chance to randomly money shot, which increases its base damage significantly. On certain characters like Athena and Jack, you can get past the low magazine size by simply putting points into skills that allow you to not consume ammo while you shoot. With Nisha specifically, you can combine Fistful of Bullets, which adds 3 bullets to the magazine, 1 for each of you, which allows you to dual wield the Luck Cannon, and other skills like Tombstone, which allows you to crit, and Hot Lead, which allows you to set people on fire while critting them for just ridiculous amounts of damage output. Definitely get a Luck Cannon in Borderlands the pre-sequel, especially if you play Nisha the Lawbringer. Number 1, the Becca. The Becca is probably one of the best as well as best looking Jakobs Guns and Weapons from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. It might also be one of the best pearlescent guns or weapons from Borderlands 2 as well. It's difficult to explain what the Becca does. It fires an initial projectile which then separates, and then the projectile that lags behind then separates into 3 more projectiles which also have the ability to hit enemies. Now, the damage output starts to get pretty crazy once you start unloading full clips into enemies, and then plus if you equip the B shield, the split projectiles are unlisted, so they get full amp damage. So you're going to have like 4 projectiles per shot that are getting full amp damage for the cost of 1 bullet. Now, the Becca is one of the best assault rifles in Borderlands 2. I just wish it dropped from more enemies other than just tubby enemies. Anyway, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.